Welcome back to the Fork in the Road Fearcast, where curiosity isn't just dangerous, it's terminal. I'm Eric Duenas, and sitting with me here tonight is my own personal Wendigo, a woman fueled entirely by caffeine, Target runs, and whatever Amazon dropped on the front porch. My wife, the very beautiful, the very sexy, the intoxicating Lauren Duenas.
Eric, if I ever turn into a Wendigo, it's not going to be from starvation. It's going to be because I'm waiting for you to pick a series on Netflix.
Indecision is a curse and a very heavy burden that I carry every day.
It's true.
No, it's not. Tonight, we're diving into one of the oldest shadows in North America. A creature whispered about long before books, long before campfires, passed from one terrified survivor to the next because silence never kept anyone safe. A being from the Algonquin, Cree, Ojibwe, Innu people, and more, born where winter freezes your breath before it leaves your lungs and hunger claws at the human mind. The Wendigo isn't your average cryptid. It's not something you just stumble across in the woods. It's a warning carved into the cold. It is the embodiment of winter that kills slow, starvation that kills faster, greed that devours everything, and the ultimate taboo, cannibalism. The Wendigo just doesn't stay hungry. It is hunger.
I'm already uncomfortable. Let's go. Before we get into the spooky sightings and there's something that screamed my name in the woods, we need to talk about where this actually comes from. Because the Wendigo isn't some one village ghost tale. This legend stretches across of indigenous land. Across many native tribes, the theme stays the same. When a human gives into desperation, greed, or cannibalism, they become a Wendigo.
This isn't creepypasta and this isn't Reddit horror. These stories date back centuries before colonial contact, before Christianity, and before Hollywood slapped antlers on everything scary.
hmm The Wendigo was part spiritual warning, part psychological manual, and part survival guide. When winter hits that hard, you don't just fear what's out there, you fear what you could become.
And that's key. This isn't there's a monster in the woods. This is human beings break and something steps into the cracks.
Oh, so like the version of you when you're hangry?
Look, my hanger is powerful, but I haven't eaten anyone yet.
Yet.
So descriptions of the Wendigo vary because the Wendigo changes with the person. But traditionally, it looks like this: emaciated skeletal frame, 10 to 15 feet tall, skin stretched tight like frozen leather, eyes sunk deep into the skull, missing lips or frost cracked mouth, a literal heart of ice, and a smell of decay mixed with winter chill.
So basically, Frostbite the musical.
That's an incredible mental image. Basil Johnston, a scholar, described a Wendigo like a corpse dug up too early. Desiccated skin, bones pushing through, lips tattered, and smelling of rot.
So basically, that sounds like our 18-year-old son.
You know, you haven't been more right about something other than marrying me.
Oh, so fun.
Modern pop culture adds the deer skull antlers and those long limbs that look like they haven't moisturized since the Ice Age, but the core idea stays the same. The Wendigo is an insatiable hunger wearing the skin of a human mistake.
That's terrifying, but yet poetic.
It actually is quite poetic.
All right, so let's talk about the most famous real case that's tied to the Wendigo, the Swift Runner. Because the more you hear about this story, the more disturbing it gets.
Swift Runner wasn't some weak, starving amateur. He was a huge, strong Cree hunter. He was a father, a skilled woodsman, someone who can survive winters that would kill most people in hours. He wasn't inexperienced, he wasn't helpless, and he wasn't the type to snap easily.
In the winter of 1878, Swift Runner went into the forest with his wife, kids, mother in law, and brother, a full family camp. And months later, he walked out alone.
When the police questioned him, he didn't run or lie. He immediately admitted he had killed and eaten his entire family. But he said he didn't want to. He said something inside him, something ancient, cold, and hungry, took over. He said he was possessed by a Wendigo.
Investigators reached the campsite and found bones everywhere, and not just bones. They were split open and the marrow was extracted. It's really gross. That's not panic or desperation, that's methodical. And here's a part that people always get stuck on. There were food sources nearby, tracks, animals. He wasn't as trapped as he said.
To the Cree community, that meant this wasn't survival cannibalism. This was someone crossing a spiritual boundary, someone overtaken by something inhuman. Even in jail, Swift Runner said the spirit called to him, pushed him, and consumed him.
And then comes the creepiest part. He was completely calm about his execution. He even helped build his own gallows. He reportedly said dying would stop the Wendigo from using him again. His last words were, I am no longer a man.
The Cree agreed with the execution not out of cruelty, but out of spiritual quarantine. To them, this wasn't punishment, it was containment.
But here's a big question, okay? How do you tell the difference between a starving man and a man becoming a Wendigo?
Well, for starters, if a guy is lazy and doesn't help around the house, that's not Wendigo behavior.
So this applies to you then.
Hey, I may not fold laundry, but at least I haven't eaten anyone. That's bare minimum husband behavior.
Wow, that's incredible. The bar is now not a cannibal, and you're proud of clearing that.
Every day I am crushing it. So, one of the most important things about the Wendigo is the folklore and legends
Hmm.
about it that have been passed down through the centuries. So, let's go through some of those. The first one is the boy and the severed legs. They say a Wendigo once snatched a young boy from the edge of a winter trail, but instead of eating him right away, it looked him up and down and snarled, You're too thin, not worth the trouble yet. So it dragged him through the forest, keeping him alive. Every few days, the creature would slice the boy's palm open with a claw and taste the blood, checking to see if he'd fattened up. He never did. Eventually, they approached a small village. The Wendigo pointed with one long finger and growled, Go inside. Bring me food. If you flee, I will find you. The boy nodded, but instead of stealing food, he told the villagers everything. The men armed themselves and ambushed the creature. In the fight, they managed to hack off its legs, two massive skeletal limbs crashing into the snow. They thought it was over, but then when they returned the next day, the Wendigo was sitting upright, propped on its arms, chewing the marrow out of its own severed legs, cracking the bones like firewood, blood steaming in the cold. It looked up at them and grinned. They then burned it alive until nothing remained.
That is absolutely disturbing.
That's pretty crazy.
Uh, it is. Let's talk about the next legend about a man whose footsteps weren't his. So, a man stayed alone in his hunting cabin during a brutal blizzard. Wind howled, snow hammered the windows, but under all of that, he heard something else. They were footsteps. They were slow, they were heavy, they were circling the cabin. All night long, they moved around him, crunching through deep snow, stopping at the door, pausing beneath the windows. He didn't sleep at all. He just stared at the fire until the morning. When the storm lifted at dawn, he finally opened the door and found a single trail of footprints circling the cabin perfectly, over and over, deep impressions in the snow. But the tracks weren't strange, they were his own. The exact shape, tread, and stride, except he never left the fire at all. Elders later told him that the Wendigo sometimes walks with a person's soul, blurring the line between man and monster.
That would be a great movie. That's pure psychological horror.
Yeah, it really is.
The next one is great. This is the Wendigo that grows when it eats. In some stories, the Wendigo doesn't just stay tall and thin, it grows. Every time it feeds, its bones stretch, ribs crack outward, skin tears and heals in the same heartbeat. One tale describes a Wendigo so massive it walked across the tops of pine trees without bending a single branch. Each time it devoured a person, it grew larger, but its hunger grew even faster. A creature that expands with every meal can never be full, only emptier. I have this exact problem, but I grow horizontally.
Another bad dad joke. Okay, so the next legend is the heart of ice. So some hunters say the Wendigo's heart is literally a block of frozen ice, and it kept beating by hatred alone. When a group finally brought one down, they tied to drag the corpse back to the village. But the cold radiating from its chest froze their gloves stiff and burned their skin like frostbite. They had to use tools, axes, and bone hooks just to pry the icy heart from its body. Even after they removed it, the heart still thumped slowly in the snow. They buried it under a bonfire so massive it burned for 3 days before the heart finally melted.
That's like you with no coffee.
Dad jokes. Do you want to sleep on the couch?
Absolutely not. The voice in the storm. This one's creepy. There's a belief in the North if you hear your name called in a snowstorm, you're already being hunted. One man went out searching for lost firewood during a whiteout. He heard a faint voice behind him. Come here. Help me, it said. He thought it was his mother because it sounded exactly like her, so he followed the voice. The voice drifted through the storm, first distant, then closer, then whispering right beside his ear. He never made it home. All they ever found was one boot, standing upright in the snow as if he'd stepped out of it mid stride.
Here's another legend, the bone that lived. After one hunt, the villagers burned a Wendigo's remains and scattered the ashes across frozen ground. One hunter kept a single bone, a twisted shard from its arm, as proof that they killed the creature. But that night, the bone tapped on its own. Soft at first, then louder, like fingers knocking from inside. Eventually, the bone cracked open and split down the middle. Inside was a tiny Wendigo, curled like a newborn animal, its eyes already open and already starving. The elder said, a Wendigo never dies, its hunger just finds another shape.
This is another great one. The Cannibal Giant. There was once a Wendigo so massive it could uproot full grown pine trees and hurl them like spears. A warrior knew he couldn't defeat it in open combat, so he let the creature swallow him whole. Inside the monster's stomach, frozen, dark, soaked with half digested bodies, he cut his way to where the creature's heart should be. It was a solid lump of frozen stone. He shattered it. The Wendigo staggered for 3 days, hissing and screaming until it finally fell dead.
Now there's the rooftop stalker. Families in one village kept hearing heavy footsteps walking across their roofs at night. Not the quick pitter patter of an animal. These were slow human steps, each one bending the wooden beams. Every time someone opened the door, the footsteps stopped. In the morning, there were never tracks in the snow, except one winter night, after a particularly loud visit, they found giant human shaped prints leading from the roof straight into the forest. But here's the thing, there was no ladder, no paths, no handprints, nothing to show how something actually got up there. Just proof that it came down and it walked away with two legs.
This is another good one. The Crying in the Snow. Hunters traveling at dusk heard a baby crying from deep inside the forest. It was freezing outside. No child could have survived alone. So they rushed toward the sound. Each time they got close, the crying moved further away. Then one man saw a small shape in the snow, hunched over, trembling. But as he shouted to it, the shape evaporated into drifting snow, like it had never been there at all. They followed the tracks, thin, human-like footprints, too long, too narrow, leading away in a perfect straight line. The elders later said Wendigos mimic the sound of the vulnerable to lure in the kind-hearted.
So the last legend is the hollow tree. There was a stand of old pine trees known for making strange noises at night. People said the wind didn't blow through them, something inside did. A hunter finally decided to investigate all of this. He pressed his ear to the largest tree he could find and heard slow, rhythmic tapping coming from inside the trunk. He split the pine open with his axe, the wood peeled back like ribs. Inside the hollow trunk were claw marks spiraling upward as if something had climbed inside the walls again and again, trying to tear its way out. The villagers didn't wait for nightfall, they burned the entire grove.
There are so many more legends about the Wendigo, not just these. I mean,
Mhm.
these go back hundreds of years.
They do. So if you guys want a part two or a side quest, just drop a comment below and we would be happy to do that.
So let's move on to the psychology of the Wendigo because, like I said, we can do these legends all night.
Hmm.
Isolation, hunger, cold, and fear. These conditions break the human mind. This is where Wendigo psychosis appears. This is a culturally specific psychological collapse where people believe they are transforming. Symptoms include hallucinations, paranoia, cravings for human flesh, and yes, the belief that they're becoming a Wendigo.
Which is absolutely terrifying because it blurs the line between legend and mental health. So here's the big question here. Is a Wendigo a real spirit or a cultural way of explaining a mental breakdown? Because both sides make sense.
And in many indigenous communities, both can be true. The Wendigo is symbolic, psychological, and spiritual all at once. If you grow up believing a dark spirit waits for desperate people and you become desperate, your beliefs and psychology merge.
Psychologists notice Wendigo psychosis only happened to people who actually believed in the Wendigo.
The elders argue it's not psychological, it's a real spiritual force that preys on the weak.
Hmm. So is it mental health? Is it a spiritual takeover? Or is it both?
I don't know, maybe the truth is somewhere in between.
And that brings us to our opinions. And Eric, this time you cannot say aliens.
Shoot, I was going to say it's an alien with a mind control device making people eat each other.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so I can't say aliens, that's off the table.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I think there's definitely something there. I may not subscribe to the same belief people system as these people. We do believe in demons, the Christians do. Um, so why can't they have, I guess, their version of it? But I tend to lean more on that this is a mental health thing. I believe that they do see something out there and that they believe there is something out there. But I think it leans more towards mental health because when you're talking about the Swift Runner case, nobody ever saw him as a Wendigo. He said he was possessed by a Wendigo, which, again, I think evidence is more that it's a mental health issue. What about you?
Yeah, I tend to think it was either some sort of mental health issue or maybe just a drink or two too much that, blew up this core belief that there is a Wendigo and it kind of just spiraled from there.
Lauren. So I guess I should stop drinking then, huh? No more beers?
Yeah, I mean, don't eat me, eat the kids.
Am I one
Kidding.
beer am I one beer away from becoming a Wendigo?
We don't know, and I don't think we want to.
Oh, Lauren, you're funny. Let's go on and talk about some modern sightings. Minnesota, 1980s. Trappers saw a tall figure gliding across deep snow like it weighed nothing.
In Quebec in 2019, a driver sees a deer headed humanoid on a snowy highway. Its prints, well, they were human like, barely sank into the snow.
Alberta, 2001. A search and rescue heard a woman screaming in the forest. They followed the voice, but it moved with them. They canceled the search overnight. This one's interesting because it kind of mimics one of those legends we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and when search and rescue cancels a rescue, you know it's pretty bad.
Yeah. So the Wendigo commonly gets confused with other cryptids like the Skinwalker or the Rake. The Wendigo equals hunger. It's something that comes to you, that becomes you. The Skinwalker, we all know the Skinwalker. It's a shapeshifter. It's something that you choose to do. It's usually like a shaman that becomes the Skinwalker because it wants to. The Rake, I mean, I guess that's just internet born nightmare fuel. It doesn't really go back as far as these other creatures that we're talking about today, particularly the Wendigo and the Skinwalker.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm sure everyone's wondering the survival rules. So let's do it. Rule number one, do not be alone.
Rule number two, don't answer voices.
Rule number three, do not follow tracks.
And finally, most importantly, rule number four, fire is your friend. So, what's so terrifying about the Wendigo? Why does it terrify us? Bigfoot, it's curiosity. Creatures like the Michigan Dogman or a werewolf, that's like survival horror. But the Wendigo, it's personal. It's the fear of becoming something monstrous when life breaks you.
Yeah, you can walk away from the woods, but you cannot walk away from your own mind. Whether it's a monster, a spirit, or the darkest part of us, one thing's clear. Something ancient lives in those northern forests, and it's hungry. Stay warm out there, stay human.
Good night. And if you ever hear your name whispered in a snowstorm,
Keep walking.
or better yet, stay out of the snow altogether.
Yep, and Florida is looking better and better each day.
It is.